Welcome back to Not So Grand Garage. Tonight we're out in the shop working on this H3 Hummer behind us, and as you can see, getting kind of cramped in here. The Beetle's back because that Pertronics distributor laid down on me again. So brought it back and we ripped that out, sent it back, and tracked down a Bosch 034 original distributor for it that had been rebuilt with all Bosch parts, and that's going to be in this week. So super hard to find one of those, by the way, but we got it, and hopefully it'll get this thing reliable again, back to points, back to simple, you know. But we're not talking about that today. We are working on this H3, and we got to fix the front differential mounts, the side mounts to be exact, which GM quit making, and they don't make replacement bushings for them, so we get to make something. So let's get at it. Now, these differential support bushings are a super common issue on the H3 Hummers, and typically it is the one that is in this main cross member right here that actually supports the differential from the bottom. But in this case, we've got the side bushings failing on both sides, which is letting the differential kind of flop around. And I did a little looking, and the driver's side, which is actually still in good shape, is available, but GM discontinued the passenger side for some reason, and they never offered replacement bushings for them that I've found. I found a couple companies that offered bushings. They're like aftermarket custom made deals. They start about 300 bucks for the set of 3 bushings and go up, and they've got such a backlog that they couldn't give me an ETA on them. So we're gonna do something a little different. I got online, did a lot of reading, trying to figure out what some other people have done, and I found a couple forum posts just using some energy suspension poly bushings. These are a standard 1.5-inch bushing with a 9/16 14mm sleeve, and pretty well all they did was cut them down and they fit right in place. So we're going to give that a try and see how it works. We've also got Rancho sway bar end links to replace and a new set of iridium plugs for it. So got a little bit of a list to do, but we'll get it done. Not sure how well you can see this, but this specific H3 has a Rancho lift kit on it that's of course no longer offered. But I guess they discontinued that a couple years back. But here, see, it's got the drop bracket up here. Then this is the factory side support bracket that bolts the diff. And this bushing is, here, let's see here if you can see it, completely trashed. Like, I could almost take this bushing out by hand, but it's just catching on the top lip. So what I'm going to try to do, which I don't know if you could do it on a stock H3, but I'm going to try to leave the CV in place. Just now that I've got this down, I'm going to unbolt it from the side of the diff, let it swing down, and then I can cut the bushing out down here, work on it down here without having to take everything apart. The differential has dropped a little bit. It's not a big deal. I'll be able to get it back up in place once I start bolting it back up, so shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, that's what we're going to try to do. We might end up having to cut or burn these bushings out, so we'll be careful doing that, but it'll be down here where we can work on it. So let's see if that works or not. So I was able to get this to rotate all the way down. It took a little persuasion, but it came around, so no problem there. Went on and cut this. Went on and cut this part here off the bushing, as it had a steel sleeve that was about this size on this side. So basically, if the bushing were to ever fail, like it has, the bracket would still be retained. The differential couldn't fall or drop just because the bushing failed. So I cut that end off. I'm going to push this metal sleeve out, which I should be able to now. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh, there goes the camera. Yeah, I'd say this bushing has seen better days. There wasn't much left holding it together, as you can see. But yeah, just a little tab of rubber is all that's left. But I'm gonna go in and work that out, then cut this rubber out. I'll get the Sawzall in here and cut a single groove through the inside of the steel sleeve, being careful not to cut into the outside diameter here. Cut that steel sleeve, roll it in a little bit, knock it out, and we should be ready to make us up some new bushings. Your goal is to just cut through that steel sleeve. You see, I don't know if you can see from that angle, but just cut through the steel sleeve. Don't get into the meat of the material on the outside. And that should let us roll this sleeve in on itself and knock it out fairly easy. I'm gonna go in and stick a bolt back in this. If I can. Oh no, that's just handy right there. Yeah, I'll catch this corner with a flat punch or a screwdriver and a hammer and roll that steel sleeve back. So let's see what happens. As you can see, we're just starting to roll this edge up a little bit. What that's going to do is take the pressure off the inside of this outer sleeve and let us knock that inner ring out. Once that inner ring's out, we'll be able to size up our bushings. There we go. Old bushing shell is out. And now all we've got is the mount on the bracket. So from the research I did on this, these bushings pretty well fit directly. They'll have to be cut down lengthwise, and the center sleeve will have to be cut down. I've already test fit the bolt that came out of it. It's a tight fit through the sleeve, so we won't have an issue there. So yeah, let's size them up and see how it works. Okay, so here's our standard 1.5 inch. Let's see here. See, a part number on the bushing is a 2123. It's pretty standard bushing, and oh yeah, with a little persuasion, that's gonna fit right in there, nice and tight. So now what I will need to do is take some measurements, because I'm gonna have to cut these bushings down this way, because I want one coming in on this side and one coming in on this side. And yeah, cut them down so it sandwiches on here real tight. Cut our center sleeve down so it doesn't protrude past the bushings. And then I'll get some big washers that'll do the same thing as the factory bushing did. It'll encapsulate this outer shell here that's part of the bracket. So if the bushing ever fails or anything ever gives, the washers will retain the front diff, so it won't ever fall out or drop because of this bushing ever failing. Which, being as these are poly bushings, we shouldn't ever have a failure issue out of them. So yeah, let's see what we can come up with. So here's what we're gonna do. This is the inner shim or inner shell of the factory bushing. It is the exact width of the mount up there on the differential. And as you can see, these, if you just run them, let's get that out of the way, be a little short. So what I'm gonna do is take these and cut them down to where there's approximately a 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna cut these basically in half on both of these. That way they will sandwich that that bracket. And then all we'll need to do is cut this inner sleeve down so it's the same length. Might actually let it protrude just a little bit so these bushings can't crush when I tighten the bolts up. And some big washers that'll be at least this diameter. And yeah, that should work out really well. Got our first bushing cut down, took about half of it off, and yeah, all I used to do that was fresh razor blade, a little bit of patience. Took a couple minutes. Not perfect, but it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. You know, we're not doing anything too crazy here. We're just supporting a differential. So got this one trimmed off. I'm gonna trim the other one off to give me about the same distance. And that should squeeze our bracket just right, and we should be good to go. So here's our cut down bushings. Should work pretty well. We'll get them in the bracket and see how it works. Like so, and one like so. Now we have this set up right here. So these are poly bushings. Now all I got left to do is run the sleeve through here, trim the sleeve off, and get some big washers, and we'll spin it around and bolt it back up into place. Should be good to go. All right, got our differential bracket back up in place. Bolts Loctited, tightened down. Now I'm gonna come over on this side, and I'm gonna get a measurement here to see how much of a gap there was on the factory bushing from this, the outer sleeve on the bracket to the drop bracket, and that's how much I'm going to space this one down. So I'll put a washer or two up on top of this, run the bolt through, and tighten it down, and that should get us real close to the factory amount of drop there. It doesn't have to be exact, as long as they're the same on both sides, and it's not throwing off our angles or anything, which it won't. We should be good to go. But this solution looks like it's going to work out really well. I'm not going to go through the whole process on the other side on video, just to be kind of boring to see the same thing over again. But yeah, looks like this is going to work. So once I get done, I'll show you both sides together and let you know how it went. But yeah, for reference, here is the part number of the bushing kit that I'm using. It's a 9.9489G. It's by Energy Suspension. I think I gave like 20 bucks for this kit. And yeah, that certainly beats 300 and some aftermarket bushings that are likely going to do the exact same thing. So yeah, I'll get this buttoned up, get everything bolted up, and see if our clunk has gone away. And I got a few other things to fix up on it, but that was the main thing I wanted to cover on video because of how many people have this same issue, and there doesn't seem to be many solutions out there. And there is our finished product. And now, see if I can get you guys in here. We have the driver's side done. Now, oddly, this side, the bushing was actually in good shape until I cut it up. So, I mean, that bushing looked almost fairly new. It's weird because they offer driver's side replacements, but the driver's side with 130 some odd thousand miles on it still looked brand new, whereas the passenger side was falling apart. So, kind of odd that they would discontinue the one that fails the most, but is what it is. But both sides are done. So yeah, I think from the looks of it, this little $20 fix is going to solve this issue completely, and shouldn't have to worry about it anymore because they're poly bushings. They don't typically wear out. With that said, it was really easy to do on this one compared to what it would be on one that's not lifted. I didn't have to take anything apart. I was able to just unbolt the brackets from the differential and unbolt the brackets from the drop bracket, swing them down out of the way as I showed earlier. I was able to do everything on the truck. So real simple, real straightforward. If it didn't have the lift kit on it, there wouldn't be enough room to get the tools up in there to do the work, I don't think. So you have to look that over really good. But more than likely, you're gonna have to pull the CVs and pull the bracket off the differential completely and do it in a vise, which it'd be easier to work out of a vise, yes, but this saved a lot of time, so, and saved the customer a lot of labor. But anyways, I've got some sway bar end links to put in and some plugs to change, but that's pretty basic stuff. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. So yeah, we're going to call it off there. Once I get all this buttoned up, take it for a drive, give it back to the owner, let him put some miles on it if anything comes up with this, which I really doubt we'll have any issues, but if we do, I'll let you guys know, and we'll revisit it then. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.